Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon, and it's such a good time to welcome everybody to the very first webinar of the interest group professionals that are new to data in 2023. Okay, I'm Sophia Adeyeye, and I teach at the Legacies University. In 2023, we went for IRC's conference, and when we were at the conference, we from developing countries, we came together and we thought that it is our time we come together to form an interest group. As at that time, we didn't really put a name to it, but later on, after coming together for several meetings, we're able to arrive at a name, and the name is New Data Support Special Interest Group. So this is our very first webinar, and with the support of iAssist, we're able to come up with this. The New Data Support Special Interest Group is to facilitate collaboration and knowledge exchange. We are to provide support, resources, and expertise in navigating and leveraging new data sources. Also, as a special interest group, we aim to enhance the capabilities of members in navigating an evolving landscape of data. Ultimately, we want to contribute to overall success of the IRC Association within the best practices in the community. So this special interest group, we are to fulfill the following charge. The first charge is that we are to foster collaboration. We are to foster a collaborative environment where members can share insights, experiences, and best practices related to new data sources and technologies. Also, we are to promote the exchange of knowledge and expertise amongst members to stay informed about emerging trends, tools, methodologies in the realm of data support. We are to encourage and support innovative projects and initiatives that leverage new data to advance goals and objectives of iAssist and its members. We are to organize sessions, trainings, workshops, educational events to empower members with skills and knowledge necessary to effectively navigate and utilize new data sources. And of course, we are there to advocate and create awareness about the special interest group and ultimately about iAssist in general. And also, we are to encourage and support collaborative projects. On this call today, this is our very first webinar, and with the support of iAssist, I want to sincerely thank Paula and Bosun Obileye for making this a success. On this call today, we have Professor Longe Olumide Babatunde. So I will quickly go through his profile so that he can start his teaching. Professor Longe Olumide Babatunde has had a progressive and accomplished academic research and professional career, demonstrating consistent success in research and development, professional impact, mentoring at national, regional, and global levels with laudable recognitions and assuring students' success. He holds a computer science majoring in information system security specializations from the University of Benin City, Nigeria. A master's degree degree in computer science from the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria, and a BSc in computing from University of Benin, Benin City, Nigeria. And of course, a national diploma in electrical electronics engineering from the Federal Polytechnic, Ado-Ekiti, Nigeria. Is a recipient of several national national and international awards and recognition. He is an alumnus of marketing scholar and an alumnus of MIT scholar. He is also a recipient of prestigious Fulbright SIR Fellowship to the United States of America and the highly coveted Elderberg Nobel Laureate Forum Fellowship in Germany. He is seasoned in convincing management information systems theories, evident by scholastic publication and initiatives in ICT diffusion, innovation, and uptake. Professor Alonge has been named by Microsoft Research as one of the leading experts on privacy and information system security research in Africa. He was a lead researcher on the new Partnership for Africa's Development, that is NEPAD, Council for Cybersecurity Program for Africa. He has won several competitive grants, including the highly competitive Google CS4HS grant and the US government-sponsored Fulbright Innovation Engagement Fund, and contributed to several successful grant proposals in collaboration with USA.
Sophia, you're frozen again.
I think she's ready now, but we can just, if I can go ahead, I can go ahead while we wait for her to join us back again. Will that be okay?
Yeah, Professor, feel free to share your slides, and whenever you're ready, we can begin with your presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, I'm ready right now, so we can go ahead. I don't know if you can see my slide. Can you see my slide?
Wonderful. Please go ahead. It's all yours.
All right, thank you so much. It's my pleasure being invited here this morning to, well, it's morning where I am in the US. I'm currently in Columbus, Ohio, where the time right now it's 10 minutes past 9 in the morning. I'm delighted to be here. I've been invited to come and talk about democratization of data exchange. I'm hoping that the little I will say here will add to the dynamics of knowledge in this domain. Let me first of all start by appreciating the opportunity to be here to speak with colleagues, I believe from across the world. I want to thank the leadership of the IASSIST for the opportunity to talk to you all. And I also want to appreciate the fact that they are harnessing the vast and unquestionable experience of social science and information services professionals all over the nation, and especially in diaspora as well. I can see people here from outside Nigeria joining this webinar. Of course, I'm here on the invitation of Dr. Sophie, who was also introduced to me via Professor Wole Olatokun of Department of Data Sciences at the University of Ibadan. Data science at the University of Ibadan is under the Faculty of Multidisciplinary Studies. And of course, that is what this is all about. The age of building silos are over. And of course, I think also it's one of the passion of this particular group, trying to harness everybody's ideas and potentials, as well as knowledge and insight into how data can be shared among social science researchers and information service professionals. Well, jumping into the presentation itself, I'm looking at catching up with technology at this time. In a funny but very realistic report, Africa was said to be technologically behind the rest of the world because of the Sahara Desert. A lot of things happen in our continent that can be very funny. People provide excuses for different kinds of things. Some will say they are not making it in life because of those who gave birth to them. Some will complain about their family members not helping them. Some will tell you that they didn't go to a good school, and that's why they're not making enough progress. The school they went to minimize the kind of opportunities they would have had in life. And so as far as technology is concerned, we have had antecedents that says that Africa is behind because of the Sahara Desert. And why was that? It was opined that critical technology needed to develop other technologies like the writing systems and the wheel, for instance, failed to reach sub-Saharan Africa because of the Mesopotamian civilization. I mean, it's very funny. And then when you go back in history, you will also discover that there are some form of developments and advancements that were traceable to Africa itself. So talking about the Sahara Desert has been a problem why technology didn't get to Africa on time really is very, very challenging. So large technology and innovation gaps exist in Africa and developing countries, especially that are even far from the technology frontiers. Economic catch-ups requires narrowing these gaps through the accumulation of knowledge and innovation capacity that moves us closer to the technology frontiers. Of course, in many of our universities, well, let me talk about Nigeria. I've had opportunity to also work in Ghana for a while, and I've had opportunity to travel across Africa, visit several schools, an external examiner to several institutions and things like that. I think it's all about how we position ourselves to take advantage of some of these frontiers. There are grants, there are opportunities, there are societies like this, associations like this. I'm a member of IEEE, ACM, and some other associations, IANG. Depends on how you position yourself in the midst of all these associations for you to be able to annex and attract the opportunity provided by some of these platforms. It was also said that the educational systems in Africa play more of lining up role than innovating for the environment. Knowledge as well as innovations are imported rather than localized. That's another problem. We do a lot of research. I've had opportunity of inviting some scholars from the US to one of our universities in Nigeria. And when we get to the head of department's office, the chair of the department, he found a term paper or a project, that's what we call it. And when he looked at it, he said, oh, wow, who did this? He said, it's an undergraduate student. And he said, this will probably qualify for a PhD somewhere else in the world. And it was just dumped on the table there, lying fallow and wasting away. Nothing like patents, nothing like copyrights, trademark or trade secret or whatever assigned to that particular work. So it's really very challenging that in Africa, we play the blame game, we play the catching up game. And then even when we innovate, we don't innovate for the environment. We innovate in the cloud and just believe that something somewhere would drop from heaven and change our dynamics and positions. And it's a very big challenge to all of us. Now, let me move on to the next slide. Technological progression, what we have today in terms of technology, this is a technology association. We cannot even begin to anticipate or even think about them 15, 20, 30 years ago. It's so challenging how the technological advancement has rapidly moved forward in what I can call not linear progression. Is very stochastic and is not linear at all. When you look at the Android phone, especially iPhone and all these phones, some years back, we used to calibrate and recalibrate just for us to be able to point our fingers at the right place. People have forgotten about that now. The technology has moved on so much, so fast that catching up with it is a very, very big challenge. And soon enough, we're going to have artificial intelligence. I was discussing with some of my students 2 years ago in Ghana about emotional intelligence, and one of them raised the question about sex toys. People now no longer want to marry human beings because they don't want to have headaches. They now prefer to have even robots as their spouse or partners. We have nano materials, we have biotechnology, we have bioinformatics, quantum computing, we have IoT, different kinds of technologies advancing, and all of them disruptive in nature. So playing the catch-up game is going to be more challenging for us in Africa if we don't come to terms with this technology and begin to harness and utilize them the way they are supposed to be utilized. We'll be far, far behind, other continents. I'm in the US presently. The way my Google map works here is quite different from the way it works in Nigeria. I mean, when I drive here, it's going to tell me there's a police checkpoint, there's a police is noticed ahead or something like that. It's going to tell me the weather, it's going to tell me the kind of terrain I'm driving into, the kind of caution I need to take and things like that. So these technologies are way, way far advanced even than some of us can imagine. But they are here with us and they are disruptive in nature. It's no longer business as usual, and we have to catch up with them. Unfortunately, looking at my topic for today, which I call Not All Who Wonder Are Lost, democratizing data support and governance in the 21st century. When you look at the challenge of democratization of data, especially data support, information dissemination, knowledge dissemination, there are some barriers that are man-made that we have created around this particular discussion that we're having. I listed a number of them here, but this is not all. One of the challenges we have is the first is the best. In Africa, I believe majority of the people here are from the African continent. We have the problem of the first is the best. I was privileged to have lectured at Nigeria's premier university, University of Ibadan, for some years. And I was also privileged to be part of a committee that was set up to come up with a slogan for the university. And one of the first slogans that was suggested is the first and the best. And I was one of the people that said, no, we can't do that. The fact that we're the first does not mean we are the best. So we changed it to Nigeria's premier university. That one is not contestable. It's the first university in Nigeria, it's the premier university. People hide knowledge to get ahead. I can talk about this for the whole day. We have those, especially amongst our students at times, those who come out with first class, what they call cum laude in the US here. They don't share knowledge. We had a set of students in Ibadan some years ago, a particular set of students. We had about 4 first class, and then we have few second class upper, few second class lower, and then we had a lot of passes, third class, and people with extra year. And we had another set of students where we had only 1 first class. And we had several second class upper, several second class lower, very few third class, no pass, and no extra year. The difference was that the set that had that 4 or 5 first class, they were too self-centered. The first class students there, they were just busy with themselves. But the one that had only 1 first class was busy organizing tutorials for the students. They were, working together on assignments and things like that. And, their joy was fuller when they were graduating. During the commencement program, it was a better audience, a better ambience for them because practically all the students in that class graduated. So people hide knowledge. They don't want other people to know. They feel that if they are the only ones that know it, it keeps them, they get ahead. It keeps them, I don't know, it's just like that. Then in Africa, we believe that it must be hard to be right. What we know that we can easily pass on to others, for them to avoid the beating and the battering that comes with experience, they believe that once you have gone through that experience, other people must also go through it. It happens in different climes. Some of us, they have PhDs. Yeah, we got our PhDs from Africa. Only very few people are lucky to have the kind of supervisors that I had. My supervisor was not even an expert in my domain, but she supervised me. She would send me to conferences. She would send my work out to people to look at. When they give feedback, she would look at it, advise me. Like in the US here, we call it advisors, not even supervisors. You can pick your team from any department. You can go to sociology, accounting, wherever, to pick your committee members. For a PhD in computer science, you can go to agri, you can go to civil engineering, you can go to sociology to pick your committee members. But in some of our schools in Africa, it's not like that. People in mathematics cannot even pick somebody in statistics to come and co-supervise them. And so these are challenges. People believe that it must be hard to be right. And so even in place of work, those who have spent 10, 15 years, they hide knowledge. They don't want people that are just coming up to get this knowledge on a platter of gold, that's what they call it, so that the work can move forward. They would rather hold on to that knowledge and allow people to go through different kind of troubling experiences that would deplete the energy, deplete productivity, deplete efficiency at the expense of, they need to learn the roads instead of just teaching them. It must be difficult to make sense. It must be tough to be good. People will tell you they have paid their dues. And then domain understanding gives me an edge. Others must mark their time before they get to where I am. I am data, I am information, I am governance. So invariably what we do is that we partition human beings. Not all who wonder are lost. Where did I get this quotation from? This was quoted in Tolkien's poem, The Riddle of Strider. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wonder are lost. The whole that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. Frost is like snow, sinking into the soil. We are not diminished when we share. That's the understanding that is lacking among professionals at times. It doesn't diminish us. It doesn't reduce us in any way. It doesn't make us of less value. The new name for growth is collaboration. By our inactions and actions, we can intentionally or unintentionally create data and communication wanderers. You know, people sit in the midst of plenty and they suffer. One of my students over in 5 years ago did a work. I was then at the American University of Nigeria, and one of my students, I'm going to show one of the work he did today, did a work on people passing information from one generation to other within the system, and it came out with a number of very interesting findings that I will show you today as we go on. I probably will not be able to finish all of this slide, but at least the much I can do within the next 10 minutes, I'll try to round up. As an association or society, at the cutting edge of technological progression, we must keep the following things in mind and direct effort that addresses these underpinnings. One, precautionary theory. Development of technologies ecosystem that promotes the inculcation of safe and ethical practice that ensure the safety and well-being of users and communication of skills and knowledge rather than hiding data and information. A lot of data hiding takes place in the climate where we came from. A lot of them, we must keep it in mind. We must follow the precautionary theory. Domestication of technology must be something that this association must also push. We can find inroads into institutions, not necessarily universities, polytechnics, innovation colleges, secondary schools, and all that. We must find inroads into them that assist us to domesticate technology. We must also expect new complexity. And that's a design philosophy that is opposite of minimalism. Those who want to play safe cannot reign in the kingdom of knowledge and data dissemination. Those who want to just do the minimum, they cannot reign there. And so beyond what was historically known and for which democratization of data and information governance is key, we must go beyond what is historically known. It is no longer as it was in the beginning, so it is now, ever shall it be, world without end. It does not hold water. That's not the way the world works today. Issues to be mindful as we progress. We must be mindful of progress trap, domain understanding and custodian issues that improves human life, but end up introducing new problems because of the inability to share information. I remember some years back also while at the University of Ibadan, there was a power problem, a power failure. Eventually, it was understood that the submarine cables or something like that had a problem, and nobody to fix it. They had to go look for people in retirement who were the custodian of those facilities for years. Perhaps they did not leave a blueprint or a floor plan or something. They had to go look for them because that is a progress trap. They made progress, but it trapped them. They did not think of legacies, those who are coming behind them. Technological singularity and explosive improvement of individuals' based knowledge required over the years and creating knowledge glut because opportunities were not democratized. You know, in programming environments, I'm a professor of computing, we encourage people to comment on each line so that if you are not there, the program you have written, somebody else can build on it. So we must, that is part of a way of democratizing knowledge. We also have the man-no-man syndrome that packs all opportunities and privileges to a selected few in organizations, in institutions. These are the only people that know it because they know, maybe in my own environment, they know the vice chancellor. So they are the only ones that are custodian of knowledge and understanding of the system. We must, deviate from that. We have technological winter, periods of declining interest and investment in other people by way of sharing knowledge, thus inadvertently creating more wanderers in our different ecosystems. We must sustain our momentum to continue to share knowledge, to continue to disseminate it, to continue to upgrade and update with us, avoid technological winter. Data governance refers to the set of policies and processes that ensure data is accurate, secure, and accessible, while data democratization means making data widely available and usable by employees across an organization, regardless of their technical expertise. Collaboration is the new name for growth. Essentially, data governance acts as a crucial foundation for supporting data democratization by guaranteeing the quality and reliability of the data being shared, allowing users to confidently access and analyze it without concerns about accuracy or security issues. What is not said, what is not written is not said. And even what is written is said, and it is not communicated, it's not going to produce any meaningful result. So when things are documented, when data information is available, we must disseminate it so that people can draw from that silo, that repository, and apply it to wherever is going to be useful for them in terms of personal growth, institutional growth, organizational growth, association growth. It must not be the case that data resides in a silo and when it dies, it dies. There is a, thank God, Dr. Sophie is in Ibadan. So she knows Songo Cemetery, very close to the University of Ibadan there. We have a lot of people there buried in that place whose knowledge will have made that country a better place. But they went to the grave with that knowledge because they felt that they are the only ones that know it, and they refused to share that knowledge. We had a professor some years back who was a professor for 18 years and did not graduate a single PhD in chemistry. Professor, 18 years, didn't graduate anybody. And so the day he retired, there was nobody to continue his own line of research in the department. This is what I'm talking about here. Data governance and democratization is very essential for us to be able to perpetuate. Those who started the Android phone that I mentioned earlier on, if they had hidden that knowledge, the development in Android technology will not be where it is today. How data democratization can take place, we need data quality assurance, we need access control, we need data cataloging, compliance with regulation, as well as data stewardship, which means assigning data stewards who are responsible for maintaining data quality and overseeing its usage as a key element of governance that supports democratization. I want to run through this slide. I will be closing with determinism. Determinism itself is a deliberate, conscious effort to achieve the purpose for which especially this particular association is birthed or created or founded. And in achieving that part, in the knowledge economy that we have found ourselves, we must align with the concept of knowledge sharing. Knowledge sharing, information sharing, knowledge management, they are key ideologies and terminologies that will help us to function as a society. This is one of the works that my student did in 2019. You can see knowledge sharing framework, individual motivation, dimension, rational action theory. People are not always rational. They don't see any reason why they should share knowledge. So tacit knowledge, explicit knowledge, this PowerPoint can be shared amongst us. We can study it and see how that will. In his findings, he came up with 3 major findings that impacts very seriously on what I'm sharing today. One of them is trust. Most of the participants in that study point out lack of trust within the team as a major barrier that hinders knowledge sharing within their unit. The second thing he came up with was age. The study shows that age is also influential towards knowledge sharing intentions. And of course, education, the higher people go, the more educated they are, the worse they are in terms of even sharing knowledge. Of course, apart from classroom sharing, I don't know whether people who are highly educated, find deliberate conscious avenue like what we have today is an opportunity for me to share knowledge. I'll close with pacifism. Whatever we say today, if we are passive, if we take a docile position as far as knowledge management, knowledge engineering, data sharing, democratization is concerned, we're not going to leave a good legacy for those who are coming behind us. In discussing that, I reverted to the Quran, and I quote from that 8:25, where the God Almighty says in the Quran, and fear tumult or oppression, which affects not in particular only those of you who do wrong, and know that God is strict in punishment. God is saying, is warning that misconduct, not sharing data, it doesn't just affect the ones that do it, but it has a wider range. So if we see people doing it, we don't complain, we don't point them to it that this is not right, it's going to affect all of us at the end of the day. When you look at the second point there, also from the Quran, it talks about God talking to his servants. Are we going to be destroyed, even if the righteous ones amongst us? The prophet said, if corruption increases, it was also reported that God ordered the angel to destroy a village that has become extremely corrupted. But Gabriel, the angel, asked God, oh God, in this village is your servant that constantly prays to you. God replied, start with him, for his face never changed with disapproval to what has been going on. Because this righteous man was passive, he too was punished with the sinners. Let me balance it now and go to the Bible. You see the story of Hezekiah, who was healed and was going to die, and God told the prophet to go and see him. And the prophet went to see him and asked him to put his house in order, just like we are doing here today. And Hezekiah turned his face to the Lord and prayed. And God said, okay, Isaiah, go back to him and tell him, I've added 15 years to his life. In those 15 years, the king messed up. And God said to him through the prophet, a time will surely come when everything in your palace will be taken away and nothing will be left, says the Lord. Let us hear what the king said. The king said, let us go to the next paragraph. There said, and some of your descendants, your own flesh and blood, who will be born to you, will be taken away, and they will become eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. The king replied the prophet and said, this message you have given me from the Lord is good. But the king was thinking in his heart, at least there will be peace and security during my lifetime. These are legacies of illegality. For as long as we feel that, for as long as things are working while I'm there, there's no problem, then we are living legacies of illegality. People will not remember us for the good that we have done. Dear colleagues, scholars, researchers, and students and guests, let me now draw on the culture of my wife, who is from eastern part of Nigeria. The culture, they have a proverb that says, when a bird flies off the head and lands off on an anthill, it is still on the ground. No matter what we are doing, if we are flying alone, we are not flying effectively. If our individual professional bodies, society, and institutions try to fly alone, we may not still be able to overcome the myriads of development challenges faced by the world today. It's time for us to rise together, to reason together, address issues together, and then this association can show the way. Collaboration is what is important and expedient and imperative, and it takes patience to listen, to understand, and accept the view of others, and share data and information for collective good. Concluding remarks, IASSISC should empower members through forums such as this to treat data and information as a product owned by teams closest to its use. We should develop policy frameworks that can be transferred to institutions and organizations to assist them leverage on inclusion and diversity in the data and information management climate. We have COVID, which was a framework developed by an association. We have standards developed by IEEE, by ACM. These are societies and associations. This association can draw from all that. We must, as a matter of commitment, determinism, professionalism, create a nexus of synergistic deliverables that cuts across age, education, culture, biases, trust, and silonization of data and information components. As the world progresses, what defines leading and world-class professional bodies will not just be the availability of technologies and the lack of technologies. It will be determined by how we share information and data, how democratic we are with data governance, how we are able to productively utilize technology, how we conceptualize development and growth, how we flesh out what we conceptualize, and what legacies we want to pass off to the upcoming generation. I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to speak with you, and I hope that my little contribution will go a long way to further propel the association in the direction that would position the association as a force to be reckoned with in the domain of social science, services, and information management. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you, Professor Longe. On behalf of IASIST and the leaders in IASIST, we want to sincerely appreciate you. But before then, I think we have to take comments and questions. If you have questions, if you have comments, is either raise your hand or you write it in the chat box. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. So we take questions and answers now so that Professor Olunge can go back to his day activities. Thank you.
There is a comment in the chat box from Lynette saying, wow, this presentation has been an awesome. Thank you for putting all these action-oriented values into words together. Thank you for your comment. And feel free to unmute yourself if you have questions. I do want to have my personal comments when others are preparing their questions or comments. Thank you, Professor. I think this is a wonderful presentation. I'm very, very curious about when you talk about domestication of technology, because I see you have wonderful international experience. But when you bring all those things from Western countries back to your own country, Nigeria, you mentioned many challenges. For example, the cross-disciplinary collaboration. You want to train your students and ask them for guidances in different departments, but it seems like there is a barrier. And I wonder if that's also related to your country, Nigeria's national policy related to technology development. Because of limited funding or other limitations, the country want to put certain technology as priority, for example, engineering or science. So maybe for social science, humanities, they might have unbiased support there. Or if you see other challenges when you bring your global knowledge back to your country. If there is anything you want to emphasize, you can make progress for the domestication of technology. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Sometimes it's not really necessarily a policy issue per se. When you look at the policies that have been written down and documented, they are very, very fantastic policies, not just about technology, even road construction, building schools, building houses, different kinds of things, schooling and all that. Fantastic technology, fantastic policies, fantastic documentation about things that needs to be done. But usually, sometimes, like I tell my students, the people themselves becomes, when you are interviewing people, the people can become the data itself. So there are biases, there are cultural issues, there are traditional issues. There are places you can't just walk into to even gather data, to even interview people. There are religious issues. So until we begin to, we've been talking about beginning to do it anyway, until these issues are addressed, perhaps in the classrooms and in some of our other climes, we may not be able to rise above some of these issues in terms of whether they are technologically oriented, engineering oriented, social science oriented, medically oriented, and all that. You can imagine people refusing to take the polio vaccine. You refuse to take polio vaccine just because you felt, oh, they are going to inject a virus into my body. I mean, it's challenging. Polio vaccine will make sure that the child doesn't develop polio, and people are refusing to take it. You can imagine people. I used to ask my students, if you want to fly to the UK or you're flying to Dubai and you have to enter Emirates Airline, do you ask when you are booking the ticket whether the pilot is going to be a Muslim or a Christian? You can see people who don't want to have anything to do with Muslims, or if the person is a Christian, they don't want to have anything to do with the person, despite the fact that it's going to benefit them. So these are some of the challenges we have. It's not just about being a multicultural society. America is big, it's multicultural, it's multi-ethnic as well. But I think some of the things that has been woven into the fabric of our society, all these biases, all these prejudices, they are things that has actually torn us apart and not allowing us to be able to actually even domesticate technology. You can try to domesticate certain things in some places. Enlightenment will allow them to take it from you, but in some other places, you will fight a battle even to begin to even discuss certain things with them. And so these are some of the challenges, not necessarily a national policy issue or something like that. For instance, I went to the US as a scholar and I came back and I was sent to the US. I was sent to MIT to do some stuff for like 4 months. And I came back and I said, okay, let's introduce this programming language. This is what they are doing at MIT to teach undergraduate students. First year students were learning Python. I'm talking about 2011. And some of my colleagues resist it. But today, Python is everywhere. I wish we started teaching Python in 2011. Some of our students who graduated far back then will have been experts in Python and be able to even better their opportunities of getting good jobs. But my colleagues resist it. They don't want us to teach Python because they don't know Python, So it's part of what I mentioned here today. Sometimes when people don't know things, they hold on to what they already know, and they don't want to democratize that knowledge. They don't want to have insights and inputs from even younger generation. The rate at which technology advances, the rate at which information flows. I'm a professor of computer science, but when my kids here handle phones at times, what they do with it, I have to ask them, how did you do that? They say, Daddy, you don't know it. I say, I don't know it. Even though I'm a professor, I don't know this one. Come and show me. So it's not a matter of policy and things like that. It's just a matter of usually the cultural antecedents, the biases, both religious, tribal, and all those things that has entered into every sphere of our national life and preventing us to actually harness the potential and the beauty that comes by this multi-ethnicity environment where we have found ourselves. Everybody has something to offer. But if we allow the prejudices of religion, tribal sentiments, educational sentiment, you can't even believe it. In our country, we partition even graduates. Where we are going to place a graduate from a polytechnic is different from where we're going to place a graduate from the university. And the British that handed over educational system to us, in fact, in my country, polytechnics you don't do study at master's level and PhD in polytechnics. But when you go to the UK, that handed over the country to us, we are our colonial masters, you see people getting PhDs from the polytechnic. I mean, how did we get there? Where did we find this one we're doing? I used to talk to my wife here also. We ask ourselves, even the religion we do, where did we find it from? When I go to church in the US, in 1 hour, we are done. 1 hour, 15 minutes maximum, we are done. You do the Bible reading, you do the offering, everything is done within 1 hour, 15 minutes. But in my country, we can be in church for 1 week. 1 week we're in church. I mean, where did we find this kind of Christianity that we're practicing? Those who handed it over to us don't do it that way. So I hope I've answered your question the much I can.
I think you bring up a very important point, the data literacy or technology literacy. And thanks for bridging your group with the ICIST community, because I want to let you know there are many technology specialists and data professionals, data educators in our community. And through Sophia's interest group, and maybe we can like build up certain network to fill in something your needs. And we can do more like further like data exchange, experience exchange in different webinars and activities. I see Paula is here, and Paula, do you want to make any comment?
Yeah, definitely. I had a couple of questions for you. Your talk was excellent, and thank you so much. The first one is branching off of precisely what we're talking about right now, which is what kinds of insights do you have in how can we help people overcome this need to hoard knowledge?
Can you come again?
Well, you were talking about people who are hoarding their knowledge, who are maintaining, not sharing because it keeps their own personal edge. Like, how do we get the community concept to be
All right.
Ubuntu and etc.?
Yes, I think I understand you. I addressed it in my speech. I couldn't finish all the slide anyway, but it's there. I think organizations and institutions will have to develop policies, procedures, and strategies. Just like in IT, we have what is called expert systems that harvest knowledge over time of a professional who is good in his field, and then we'll keep it for reference purposes and things like that. I think there will be need for deliberate, conscious policies to be formulated that enable people over time to document knowledge, document skill, document processes and procedure, so that those who are coming behind them can have it. I think also that if we just leave human beings to do what they want, we're not going to get the best out of them. So if we put measures in place that enables us to, harvest knowledge, skills, and understanding of a domain over time, it's really going to help. And then I think we can also have mentor-mentee arrangements in organizations and institutions. If we attach people together, they understudy them, it's going to really help them. When I joined the service of the University of Ibadan, my heads of department at that time, Professor Adenike Oshofison, used to ask me to follow her to class. I'll just sit down and be looking at what she's doing, how she taught and all that, and I imbibed it, over time. So we need to also be able to set up things like this in our systems where people will work under a particular person deliberately for a period of time. In PhD climbs, we have what is called a progress report. We can have the two of them write reports about each other, what they are learning, how they are learning, and things like that. And then, it helps in a way. There may be other options to be explored, but that is what is coming to my mind at this time. Thank you.
I'm wondering about the reward structures that are in place. If people are rewarded for publishing and only for publishing their articles, might they hoard their data more? Are they more likely to maintain tight controls over their own data and make it harder for people to use their data?
I think for scholars and researchers, it depends on what you want to become and what you want to achieve. I would rather people quote my work, cite my work, than just building silos that I only benefit from in terms of mileage, financial mileage, and things like that. I think global scholars are not parochial in their thinking. They open up their research, they get patents for it, copyrights, and things like that, but they open it up. And when you look at these data management policies and things like that, they give room for even usage of a party. Copyright has a limit number of years. Patents, trade secrets, all of them, they have limits. Some of them allow other people to build on what you have done. Some allow people to build on it after a particular period of time. So the fact that people are getting rewards for their their scholarship should not necessarily mean, because there's no man that can get all that should accrue to him over what he or she has done in a lifetime. And that's why I talk about legacies. These are legacies of illegalities. They are not doing the world. Steve Jobs, I think, is gone now. I mean, he left for us, Apple and all these stuff. Assuming he just kept it to himself, he will have gone to the grave with it, but it's useful to all of us today. So the fact that people we need to tune people's mind in a different direction, maybe in our classrooms, in forums like this, we tune people's mind in a different direction so that they know that it's not just all about you. It's not all about you. There's nobody who has succeeded all alone. It's all about all of us and how to make the world a better place, much more better than we met it. Thank you.
Yes, and I'm wondering, one more question related to that, and that is, how do you think that librarians might play a role in fostering this collaborative environment that you speak of?
Oh, thank you very much. Incidentally, last year I spoke at the National Association of Librarians in Nigeria. It's a very big forum, over 2,000 people in that forum, or 3,000. There were so many, and we spoke about innovation. I think maybe from where you are is a bit different from where we come from. Library and librarianship is still what I can't call it rudimentary, but I can call it not still so much technologically driven in Nigeria. I can't speak for the whole Africa. And so in that forum, we talk about also democratizing the library system. In Ohio here, I went to the Columbus Library, very close by. It's about 10 minutes drive from where I am now. And you even see little children playing in the library. That's a crime in Nigeria. You can't have a baby, shouting and making noise in the library. And so we need to open the libraries up. In our country, libraries are silos. They are sacred. You can't even talk there. You will see notices, don't speak in the library, don't do this, don't do that. But interestingly, when I was a student at the University of Benin, even though I was reading, my program of study was computer science, I used to go to other parts of the library to study. I would go to sociology, psychology, philosophy, and it contributed to my traction later in life when I ventured into cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity is not just about computing. You have to understand the psychology of the criminal. You have to understand his philosophy, his philosophical standpoint. You have to understand his sociology. So librarians can, like I said earlier on, they will have to make deliberate, conscious efforts to disseminate important information that are tangential to students and other colleagues who are in a particular domain. People are too domain specific where we come from. They are just too domain specific. So librarians will have to take the lead by disseminating information, have maybe periodicals, have newsletters that helps people direct them when they come to the library. What are you coming in here to do today? You want to do this? This one can also benefit you, something like that. Make it more interactive, more social. The social dimension will need to be added to it so that they're not just librarians who are seated in one place are doing no other thing apart from attending to just people who want to read a particular book, particular domain. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. There is another question from the chat box from Olaniki Alabi. Sorry, I might pronounce your name in an incorrect way. They said, thank you so much for the insightful presentation. We are Africans and we have data that are indigenous to us, and these data are inherited in people as tacit knowledge. How can overcome the issue of hesitancy in knowledge sharing and protection? Thank you.
All right, well, I think it's something that we will do one at a time. We cannot separate ourselves from the blood that flows through us, but we must go beyond the blood that flows through us to see how the kind of attitude and disposition we have towards tacit knowledge will benefit generations that are coming behind us. We've lost a lot of things, especially in terms of knowledge that are not documented. I think this association can also take some cue from that as an area where they can come in and begin to document some of this knowledge to make it useful to those who are coming behind us. Otherwise, some of those knowledge will also go away. People see it as what they live on. Sometimes tacit knowledge is something you gain through personal experience. It may be difficult to articulate or express clearly, but They are not difficult to document. If we find people who have a wealth of wisdom, wealth of understanding about life, we can go to them and document some of the things that we can, just like we did here today, we can raise questions that will help us to elicit different responses from them and then be able to document them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I didn't see any more questions. Is there any comment at the end? I can stop recording for now, but feel free to hang out here